it'll take place on September 27th. The first time I could probably assure you that Late Night with either Dean Smith or Roy Williams has been hosted in September. We've talked many a time about how it seems like they've never understood you do this the weekend of a home football game.
Well, the past 2 years, it's been when the team's been on the road. Now, granted, I don't blame them, because who would have wanted to see that team after going to Late Night? That wouldn't have been great.
But this course falls on the football home weekend where Carolina hosts Clemson, the defending national champion in football.
I think you mean beats Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that. We'll be in the stands for that game.
Be there.
So
we'll be there.
It'd be kind of a treat to see Mac Brown take down Dabo. But it's September 27th. One thing to note: there is not a volleyball game before Late Night with Roy this year, where it has been in years past. Volleyball team was on the road that weekend. So we can't tell you the times when the doors are going to open because it's opened earlier because of volleyball. Of course, this year there's no volleyball. And there hasn't been a host named yet for Late Night with Roy. Last year it was Antoine Jameson and Molly Sullivan, who did a fine job. Wouldn't surprise me again if they come back. But as of right now, there has not been a host named for this year's Late Night with Roy. And also, because of you and I's other obligations with high school football, we will not be able to attend this year.
Unfortunately,
for the
not.
first time since... It'll be a first time in 3 years, right? Is it 3 years?
Yeah,
3 years.
Yes, 3. We've been 3 consecutive because we
Right.
saw Jesse, Holly, Kenny Smith, and then Antoine and Molly Sullivan last year. So, yes.
One last thing before we get into a topic that figures to be highly debated. KJ Smith got some good news earlier this week where Roy Williams put him on scholarship. I don't know if any of y'all saw the video where he FaceTimed his dad. And his dad told him, "You earned this. It has nothing of my doing with my relationship with Carolina basketball or Roy Williams. It's the work that you've put in since you joined the program to earn this." Neat moment for Baby Jet. Of course, his daddy was an All-American here, played for Dean Smith, and won an ACC regular season championship. So,
well, I think a lot of people are probably looking at the move and saying, okay, I mean, he's probably the best out of the Blue Squad. There is a chance that he could play if they need someone that's been in the program before at point guard. Because remember, we're rolling with 3 freshmen right now. That's pretty much what we're doing. And Jeremiah Francis is probably not going to play. So it's either going to be you move Leaky there, but let's say he's playing that good at the 3 or the 2, wherever they want to play him at. I mean, if it gets, let's say there's some foul trouble or if there's an injury, KJ could see some time. So this is not an overly shocking move because we talked about it a little bit when we were doing the recaps and previews for the next season. We talked about, okay, he is the best in the Blue Squad. Like, he stood out from the Blue Squad. Him and Brandon Huffman, and Huffman's already on scholarship. KJ was the guy that, there was buzz early in the year last year, like, yo, this guy should probably get some playing time because he's playing really well. And we were kind of like, okay, hold it here just a little bit. But he's got something. Like this, I agree with what Kenny's saying. This is not a kid that they just said, oh, well, we got a scholarship open. Well, we're just going to put him on there because his dad was a former Tar Heel player. No, KJ's got something. He's not he's not a superstar by any means, but he can get out there and play if he needs to.
And also, this figures to be the guy that when Roy gets pissed because our young point guards are being young and inexperienced, he's Stillman White or whatever. Okay, you have some experience.
Right.
You're going to not turn the ball over. You're going to stay in front of the ball on the defensive side.
Right.
This figures to be KJ's role for the remainder of the time in the program. And we've seen it works here.
Right.
It's just something that when Roy does that, he knows when to do it, the right game, the right moment, when to push that button, and it works. And if we ask him to give us 4 minutes, I trust him running the offense for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And setting the defense for 4 minutes.
Maybe not against Duke, but some of the other ACC teams and our out-of-conference opponents. Yeah, I feel confident. Does this cement the fact that he starts on senior night because now he's on scholarship and there's not a senior point guard? To me, that
he's only a junior. So
is he only a junior?
He's only a junior.
His eligibility confuses me because he came in
as a freshman,
as a sophomore, right?
he
Because he had played somewhere else and
Pacific.
came in Pacific, and he came into Carolina, and his eligibility was very, very strange. But I think he came in as a sophomore last year, so I think you're right. I think he is a junior, but I could be wrong. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I don't know. I'm happy for him. It's always great to see legacies get on scholarship. Personally, I was hoping my guy Walker Miller would be our go-to guy whenever Roy got mad. But I don't think Walker's going to get that. I think you're right. I think KJ is going to be the angry Roy sub that he will throw in there from time to time to basically say pretty much what he will become is Roy's way of telling guys when you can't get a timeout, hey, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Well, when you can't get a timeout and when he's not going to call the timeout.
Yes.
Now it's time to debate.
Dude, I yelled earlier and now I have to see if my voice is ready. It's ready. Let's do it.
This figures to be fun because the topic, we're blessed to have a bunch of teams to pull from. And the topic is this. Which is the best UNC team that never won the national championship? We kept it in the modern era or so of the NCAA tournament.
Well, yeah, because I mean it was just too, when he got to the tournament. Here's the other thing: you could have finished the season 20 like now, somewhere with 8 or 9 losses, you wouldn't be in the tournament because it was so small back in the early days. So you think we don't know a lot about the 70s and 80s because we're not trying to call ourselves experts on that. Oh, you should see our knowledge of the mid-40s teams.
Well, I mean,
not good.
And that's why I said the modern era because
Right.
we lost the 1946 national title game. But that was also
They are not on my list of teams that is on.
It's
shocking.
I said modern era. Let's just
Right.
rephrase it from Dean Smith to now. Is where
yes.
all these teams fall into the conversation.
Yes, every one of these teams is in those two is in one of those two areas. I think I have a Guthridge team.
And Guthridge falls into the
right. But I'm saying I think most of them are either Dean or Roy era teams. I think Guthridge is the only other one that you could throw in if you're doing modern era because we're not going to consider any of that Doherty. We love Coach Doherty. Love Coach Doherty.
None of his teams were Final Four worthy.
No,
teams.
we didn't think that was so. Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna read my list of teams first.
Okay.
You follow, then we'll just kind of dissect and see where we land. See if we agree or disagree on the best team that never cut down the nets. So for me, I started back in 1968. Carolina went 28-4, 12-2 in the ACC. It was the second of 3 years that Dean Smith took the team to the Final Four. They, of course, lost to UCLA in the final. That was, of course, when John Wooden and the Bruins dominated college basketball, winning 10 titles in 12 years. I moved on to 1977. That team went 28-5, 9-3 in the ACC, so not as dominant in ACC play. That team also lost the national championship game, this time to Marquette. That was Phil Ford's final game. Probably, if we had to say the team that Dean Smith probably won the team to win the national championship the most that didn't, probably that team because Phil Ford was that important to the program. That's probably what we would go there. Moved on to 1981. Team went 29-8, 10-4 in the ACC. Again, lost the national championship game, this time to Indiana. We go to 1984. Michael Jordan's final year on campus, 28-3, 14-0 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The first team in the history of the conference to go undefeated in the regular season. They lost in the Sweet 16 to Indiana. We all know the famous loss, and Dan Dockich made his whole career after that one game. We go to 1987.
Wait, was that really quickly? That was a Sweet 16 loss. I have that as an Elite 8 loss.
Sweet 16.
To Indiana.
It's Sweet 16.
Okay.
1987. Team goes 32-4. They again go undefeated in ACC, play 14-0. They fall short of the Final Four this time. First team I have, or the second team on my list that did not make the Final Four, they lose in the Elite Eight. Then we go over a decade to my next team, 1998. Team goes 34-3, 13-3 in the regular in the ACC. Bill Guthrie's team loses in the Final Four. We go another decade. We get to 2008, 36-3, 14-2 in the ACC. That's the infamous loss to Kansas in the Final Four, where the Heels were down 40-12 at one point in the first half. Came all the way back to cut the lead to 2, ran out of gas, and we fall short.
No, the ref screwed us, but continue.
We go this time. We don't have to wait another decade to find another team. In my opinion, we go to 2012, 32-6, 14-2 in the ACC, losing the Elite Eight. Of course, that's the year where Kendall Marshall broke his wrist in the second round against Creighton. We again lose to Kansas, a game short of the Final Four. Now we get to talk personal heartbreak for you and myself. 2016, team goes 33-7, 14-4 in the ACC. We lose the national championship game on a buzzer beater to Villanova.
Hey.
And then the last team, you kind of in the pre-production stage of this convinced me to put this team on here because of what they did in conference. I don't know if they necessarily deserve to be on the list. Was this last year's team?
Right.
Team goes 29-7. 16-2 in the ACC, the most regular season wins in ACC play in the history of the program. We, of course, lose in the Sweet 16 to Auburn. So I just gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 or 10 teams that I think are worthy of discussion of teams that did not win a national championship. If we break it down, you've got 4 from Roy Williams, 1 from Bill Guthridge, 5 from Dean Smith.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so most of those are on my list. So, okay, I got the 76-77 team. Again, like you said, 28-5, 9-3 in conference. Finished first in the ACC and then lost in the final to Marquette. Significant about that team, Phil Ford, but also Walter Davis, who was a really good player. And that was a team that, I mean, was pretty dominant, but not overly dominant. The 1980-81 team that, of course, lost in the final to Indiana. They were 29-8, 10-4, finished second in the ACC. That team was just loaded. I mean, just stacked. Al Wood was a senior, led the team in scoring. Believe it or not, then Sam Perkins as a freshman, James Worthy as a sophomore, Jimmy Black as a junior, just a ton of talent.
Was I the only one when researching these teams,
right,
saw that team lost 8 times?
Yeah.
And asked myself,
kind of shocking.
How? Like, you got to think, that was Coach K's first year at Duke. Virginia just got Ralph Sampson.
Right.
How did Carolina not win the ACC?
Okay, I'm going to tell you how they didn't win more games. They only scored 71.9 a game. But the thing is, go with your argument, they only let up 63.4 a game. Okay. I don't care what era you're in, any modern era of basketball, allowing 63 points a game, that is ridiculously good.
Still got to think though, there's still no shot clock in the college game yet, so that's why the points are a little bit lower because we admittedly played at a slower. I
get the argument. The 76-77 team scored 83.6 a game.
Look at your point guard
and allowed 72.6.
But look at your point guard, Jimmy Black.
Jimmy Black's highly regarded though too
as a leader.
Oh, I mean, I don't think he was as talented as Phil Ford.
But
not even close.
I mean, it's
believe me, you're right.
I just when I was doing the research and was looking into that team, and I was like, God, they lost.
Right, and the rebounding margin also 34.2 a game for Carolina, as opposed to allowing opposing teams just 28.8. Which is almost a +6 margin. Which is really good.
That's healthy.
I'm agreeing with you. It's just I don't think the